Thanks for joining me and Dalton this morning as we break down this 12 game college football slate. Once again, this is by far our favorite time of the week. I look forward to it literally the whole week. Love this slate. I feel locked in. Dmar, how are you this morning?
Yeah, feeling good. Excited. I mean, I think not that you don't normally do a lot of research, but man, I think you are excited about this one. Like I was telling, we were talking before the show. I got a text at 3:30 this morning, and Ben was in there just in the lab, just cooking up lineups. So he's pumped. We got a good Ben today, so this should be a good show.
Yeah, it's kind of like whenever you have to take a big test, in college. You're either
Yeah,
excited for it or
I am.
dreading it. Yeah, you're either
Yeah,
excited for it or dreading it. And I'm definitely excited for everything this morning. Love the slate. It's a different slate. I know I messaged you. I feel like there's plenty of value plays. You can really create
yeah,
about whatever lineup you want to make. It's just getting all the right pieces. We were on a lot of good plays last week, but I didn't have a team that brought it all together. I made some pivots
yeah.
towards the
Well,
end of
yeah,
the slate,
yeah. It was weird too
which I mean,
because I feel like we avoided a lot of the not all of it, but a lot of the some pretty bad injuries with some chalky dudes. Like with the Ohio State running back situation, we kind of got lucky on that. And you would think that a rainy game, a blowout, like the running back should have just smashed. And I mean, Ohio State just I don't know. It was like they were trying to everybody in the world not to get the running back involved. And then in the Washington game with McMillan going down the first drive,
yeah.
and I think he was 20 something percent, and Chip was 60%. So I mean, if you avoided that, you should have been decent. But it was still a lot of some wild plays. What I think Jason Bean ended up being the top quarterback to play, which he was so low owned. It was more so in the larger field stuff. But yeah, it was a wild slate. But and then of course the second chalkiest dude with Gordon just went absolutely bonkers. So if we didn't have that, it was going to be tough.
Yeah, and we did a few 3-3-3 teams, and of course, we didn't get the best start. And we, well, I messaged you about it. We pivoted off Gordon. I did on my main team, and yeah, if I just
Didn't
would
work
have left,
out. Didn't
yeah, if
work
I
out.
just would've left him in, it would have been a fine morning. And
Yeah, what
yeah,
was it? I think the three pivots, the guys we pivot off of, all scored within the first 5 minutes of the game.
yeah. At that point, I just shut it off, the app, and I just started betting. I don't think the bets went
Yeah,
much better than my
yeah. Thank
DFS.
thank God for that, because I mean it's the betting's definitely been getting it here in Kentucky's been a blessing here for us.
Oh yeah, it's just been 9-day difference. It's just so much better than. I mean, I'll always love fantasy, but betting is just so much more cut and dry, and you don't have to get as cute. You can really just use your knowledge. But we'll go ahead and get into the slate. We have it's 12 games. Pretty much, it's a 10 game slate because there's a couple games on here. I don't think we're going to spend much time talking about. But we'll jump right in. First game of the slate is UCF versus Oklahoma. Is 67.5 total, which is just huge, biggest total on the slate. Oklahoma is 17.5 point favorites. So I'm a little concerned if UCF can keep this game close. I'm hoping you can kind of lead me in the right direction here. But one thing for sure is Gabriel's crushed his last 2 weeks. This is by far his best matchup of the year. I think UCF just gives up a shit ton of
Yeah,
yards on the ground, and I mean Gabriel's been showing the upside with running it. But what are we doing with this game? You think UCF can keep it close? Gabriel, good chalk, bad chalk, and the hardest thing I found last night was trying to figure out what receivers I would like to pair with Gabriel if we do go that route. So, what do you think about this one?
yeah. Anytime you deal with Oklahoma, it seems like it's been this for the past few years. There's always it's not as cut and dry as some teams. Like they've got multiple receivers they use, multiple running backs they use. Usually the quarterback's about the only kind of staple you kind of feel good about. But even then, I feel like you can go him, and then the running backs get it, and he gets a blowout. And so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think Gabriel is your top quarterback play. Gives you rushing upside. Obviously, can throw the ball around the yard, and this matchup, like you said, is probably one of the best he's going to have all year. And plus, it's a little revenge narrative. He did play quarterback at Central Florida, so it wasn't like they kicked him out. I mean, he definitely moved up, so it's not like I doubt there's any like hard feelings or anything there, but definitely something to keep in mind there. But yeah, I think like I said, Gabriel's probably your top quarterback play. Receivers, this is going to be the first week we get a full with Anthony being out. He got hurt in that Texas game. So we've yet to see a full game of how they're going to kind of do their receiver rotation. But it starts with Farouk. We saw in the Texas game, this is the first time they kind of started using him in multiple ways. So I think he's kind of your top guy if you can get the price. If you have enough money there to pay for him. Stoops is a guy he's been around forever, reliable. He's not really. I think he's had one game. Let's see, like in the 20s. Yeah, and it was a blowout game. So I think the upside's somewhat capped on that play, and especially he's 300 less than Farouk. So I think both of them will get some ownership though, because I think so many people are going to be playing Gabriel. And then it's literally just the 4 top price guys for them. Nick Anderson is also in play as well. I think he's going to be actually getting the start for Anthony. So, but he will rotate with that Jaden Gibson. And I think Gibson's kind of your dart throw if you want to get a cheap piece to that and hope that he, is more involved than what we think, especially at 3,800. I mean, you obviously don't want to take a 0 from a guy there, but, if he gets you, 3, 4, 5, it doesn't absolutely kill you. So, I think Farouk, Stoops, safer. Anderson, you're starting to get a little fringe, and then Gibson's kind of your dart play, cheap play there. And the running backs, I don't think, it still shows Barnes is questionable, but I don't think he's going to play today. It looks like it's going to be one of those things. He comes back a little bit later in the year. They're not going to rush him back. So I think the Walker it makes for a pretty interesting play. He's kind of been their more consistent back and then Marcus Major is a guy that's another one that's been around forever. And he, he'll get more of the goal line looks. And 5,200. I think I'd rather just pay 200 more and get some Walker because he's a little bit more explosive. I do think they'll try to get to Sawstruck some carries as well, but he's not going to be anyone I'd want to play today, especially with everything else we have on the slate. So Walker is the running back I would play on this team.
Yeah, there's just a ton. We hadn't really talked about it much, but there's a ton of good running back plays on this slate. So it's going to be hard for me to land on Walker or Major, but I mean, they're both great plays. I'm with you. Gabriel's definitely, if you're spinning up a quarterback, I couldn't imagine clicking on, Bo Nix's name over Gabriel after what we've seen last week. So I'm with you on that. As far as the receivers go, so we've seen a few people with the strategy a couple weeks ago where I'm trying to think of who it was. It was Caleb Williams. We were trying to figure out the receivers to go with him on USC. How many receivers do you think you can go with Gabriel? Would you just go Gabriel naked? Would you one stack him? Would you double stack?
I mean, honestly, I think I see a path for either one. I think you can go him by himself and hope he spreads it around and gets his rushing. I think you can go one receiver and hope that, we kind of get the production from just the one guy. And I think you could even double stack. So, I think my top option would probably just be going Gabriel and going one of the receivers, followed by double stack. And then at the end, just kind of going, because it's going to be tough with some of these other quarterbacks too, because, you can get, there is actually some value at quarterback today. So, I think you kind of want to maximize your points at the quarterback position, especially if you're paying up for that much. So it's like if he does get what he needs to at that price, he's, I doubt he's going to be running them all in. And so I think you would try to get that connection with him.
Yeah. So talk to me about UCF. Can we play? I'm big on Harvey. Can you play Harvey at 6,400, which is just expensive? So I mean, I'm off that. And I think Javon Baker is really the only other guy I had wrote down here. I mean, we used to ride Plumlee's coattail, but Man, he's just not done
Yeah.
it the last couple years, and we've been lucky enough to kind of avoid him. I mean, I know he's been in the league for so long. I know before we won him plenty of times, but he's not really showed the upside. I think Oklahoma's defense is actually pretty good this year. So are you even
Mhm.
messing with the run back?
No, I mean, if you're making multiple teams, this does make for a fun game stack. But yeah, like you said, Oklahoma's defense is good. We saw what they did against Texas, and obviously this is a little different game environment. I mean, they're not going to be as amped up as they were for Texas. But Plumlee's been battling injuries. He's never been a good thrower. It's not something that's just going to magically happen this week. So I do think Oklahoma's going to be able to get to him. And I mean, I think there's a better chance of the Oklahoma defense just stuffing them rather than Plumlee goes out there and just goes crazy.
Yeah.
So I do think the way I would kind of do it is maybe just take a chance on one of the receivers for Central Florida. Like you said, Baker's got the biggest target share. I think you're a little bit safer going that route, but I do think like Kobe Hudson has popped for some big games in the past, and think he's going to be a little bit less owned. So like I said, Hudson would be more my GPP play. Baker's a little bit safer. And then we've even seen, I've always been a fan of Xavier Townsend. Hasn't done a whole lot this season, but he has popped for a few games, and he's kind of more the explosive guy as well. They'll get him involved with some end around stuff like that. So those are kind of be the three I would look at, but probably Hudson and Baker would be where I would be looking at.
Okay. No, that's going to be a good man. If UCF can keep that game close, Gabriel will go absolutely bonkers. But man,
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time seeing it. We'll go move on. We have Mississippi State versus Arkansas. It's a 48.5 over under. Arkansas is 6.5-point favorites. This is a game I'm a little more excited about than I feel like I should be. I have KJ Jefferson's name wrote down with a question mark, and I'm letting you decide if we're playing him or not. You're the KJ Jefferson whisperer. Man, for the last couple of years, every time you've been on him, he's just absolutely nuked the slates. I do have some concerns here because I think both of these teams play at an extremely slow pace.
Yeah.
So that probably reflects in the lower total. Real quick, I do want to mention, you got me on Mike Wright last night. Dual threat quarterback, 5,200, helps you really just beef up your lineup. I think we can project him for a pretty safe number here, unless you think Arkansas's defense is anything to be scared of. But yeah, so tell me what
No.
we're doing with KJ, and then touch on Wright for me.
Yeah. I do think we have the clarification that Wright will get the start. We were a little bit unsure on that yesterday, but it does look like Rogers will miss, and Wright, this will be his game. And we've
Let's
already we've
go.
talked about it. We've talked about it before. Arkansas's defense has just been bad. I mean, real bad. I do think Arkansas. This is a must win. I mean, if Arkansas loses this game, I mean, it's we're talking about new coach and everything. Like this is a make it or break it game for Arkansas. I mean, they've lost 5 straight, I want to say. So at home, they've got to take care of business here, and I do think that this is a kind of a sneaky game stack. The pieces aren't too expensive. I am concerned a little bit with the pace of play, but man, both these defenses have been bad. Just not been able to stop anyone, and we got 2 dual threat quarterbacks, which is always something we'd like to target in these games, in fantasies. So, but yeah, Mike Wright, his price is great. And has played something like it's not like he's just been the backup all year. I mean, they've been, I've watched the most I've watched him, of course, with the Alabama game. And I mean, Wright comes in and packages anyway. So I mean, he's he's got SEC experience. He started at Vanderbilt for a year, had some huge games at Vanderbilt, also had some really bad games at Vanderbilt. So I mean, he's not I wouldn't consider him a stud, but he definitely is capable of having a big game. And 5,200 just makes, like you said, a lot work. You can fit a lot in with him. So, like that, is for his receivers. Griffin's kind of the stud. He had a huge game against South Carolina, 256 receiving yards, and you do get a little downgrade with Mike Wright. Will Rogers is a pure passer, so the receivers take a little bit of a ding. So you don't necessarily have to pair Wright up with any receiver. But if you did, Griffin is the guy, and also this Jaden Wally. Started, he looked a little bit better last week coming back. Yeah, I think he's been injured. I think last week he got hurt. I think week 2, and then came back last week. 3,700 is a guy that like we mentioned earlier, like that's not going to kill you if you don't go out there and perform too well. So I think I'd rather take a chance on doing something like that. Like if you did want to pair it, just because it is cheaper. But yeah, those are kind of the two guys I would be looking at. And also I want to note too, I think I really like Mike Wright's anytime touchdown score. I think I saw earlier that it's like plus 325. So definitely adds a good little boost, especially if you parlay some plays. So like that for anytime touchdown score.
Yeah, I like that because you can just tell that he's the type of guy that he wants that rushing touchdown. If he gets the option within the 5 yards, I mean, even the 10 yards, he's gonna keep it. I don't think he's gonna hand it off. I think you could.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm kind of just already projecting him for a score on the ground, and then whatever else we get from that's just icing on the cake. He definitely is just a pure runner because I mean his balls, they're not pretty. They float up in the air.
Yeah. But Arkansas's defense, the secondary's been torched. So I mean, I don't, he's a good enough passer to make some throws. So I like it. Like I said, that if it wasn't for the pace of play of these teams, then I think I'd be all in. But it does have a low. I mean, what'd you say the total was? Like it's 40.
Yeah, 48.5.
Yeah, which is, it's not terrible. I do think I like the over a little bit on this one, but yeah, so in Marks, their stud running back, a little bit banged up coming into this one, so that could lead to Wright keeping the ball a little bit more, and and every time I've seen Wright come in, I mean he's pumped up, ready to go. So I think this he'll be amped up for this start here. Because this could be, I mean, this very easily could be a spot where he takes over for the rest of the year. I mean, if he comes out there and performs, I mean, this could be his team the rest of the year. So, yeah, like Wright. And then on the Arkansas side, I think KJ's a very, very sneaky play. He priced up a little bit, but they kind of started finding something last week against Alabama in that second half. The first half was absolutely terrible. And then the second half, they started rolling a little bit. KJ just – he got people dragging on him, and he's still making throws.
Pounds, baby. I heard him say that probably 15
Yeah, I think he texted me during the game last week and was like, if I hear them talk about how big KJ is. But yeah, and I think I was reading something. He's got a few chances to break some school records today. So, I always like doing that at home. And, I was reading something a while back and on some message boards, and I think there's some issues. The OC and KJ and just the whole offense in general is not really jiving. So it did make me kind of pause a little bit on some Arkansas plays because you never like hearing stuff like that. But like I said, they did start looking better the second half last week, so maybe they can build upon that. And Mississippi State just got torched last week. I think it was Western Michigan, and they just so if a team like that can score some points, KJ definitely can do it. So, and you've got Armstrong there with him that's been Mr. Consistent. I mean, he seems like he's always he's on the field pretty much every play, run some deep routes. So, I mean, I think he's your kind of preferred pairing. We took a chance on Washington last week, and he had one good play early on. And then, but we did see, like, they look for him. Like, they run a few design plays for him. But now at 4,800, it's hard to take a chance on that. So, I think if you do go KJ, just go Armstrong, and you could even run him naked if you wanted, and just leave it at that. I mean, honestly, I think this is a game where you could go both quarterbacks and just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But I did also want to touch on the running backs. This Dubinion, I think. Dubinions, right? Yeah. 4,500. For Arkansas, they love to run the ball. There is. You're going to see 3 running backs this game. It's just a matter if, Dubion is going to be the guy with the hot hand, and they ride him, because you will see, AJ Green's in there, and let's see, that Johnson as well. He'll kind of get some more. He's kind of your bell cow type, worth lower, like trying to get 2 or 3 yards, something like that. But 4,500 is a good price for that. So I do I do like that running back play as well. But yeah,
that
it's
was really
there's
the
some
only
good
question
pieces
I
in this
didn't have.
game.
I mean, the Benny at 4,500. Would you? There's just you like him more, or would you be more lean to play a guy like Baxter, same price, backup for Texas?
Dominion.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's about all I needed to know. All right, next game is going to be an exciting real life one. I don't know how much fantasy implications it's going to have outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., but we have Penn State versus Ohio State University. It's a 45.5 over under, and Ohio State is minus 4.5 point favorites. I know we're both kind of in lockstep with thinking Ohio State's not that good. I unfortunately don't think Penn State's good at all. It's mostly going to be a stay away game for me, I think, outside of Marvin Harrison. I'm wanting to get the Ibuka news as well. What can you tell me about this? In this running back situation, I mean, what's
Well, I got another
figure
twist for you.
that out.
Henderson's now a game time decision after already being ruled out. He is now a game time decision, and it's honestly looking likely that he plays. So, yeah,
I mean, is he a
it's just
guy? If he's in, is he getting 75% of the snaps?
yeah. I mean, I really think so. That's why I wrote him up in my article. I'm a sucker for Henderson. Like he's been a stud since his freshman year, but it's every week. We never know if he's going to play. Like they said they kept him out last week because of the conditions of the game being rainy. It's just like, I mean, what's going on? Like, Ohio State's had a history of doing this in the past. They kind of cater to their superstars. Like it's just like if they don't feel like they want to play that week, they just don't let them play. So I don't know. It's if he plays, I think he makes for an excellent GPP play. I mean, his history against Penn State. I think he's owned them every year he's played them. And everything in this game's projecting bad because Penn State has played absolutely no one, so their defensive numbers are just boosted to the max. I mean, I think they rank on this slate; they're at the top at both passing and rush defense. So, no one's going to grade out really well in this one. I think even Marvin Harrison's grading out bad, which I don't know. I just don't. I don't see it. I think they feed him. I actually like Marvin Harrison.
Off last game, didn't he? Or last time they played, didn't Harrison off?
Which obviously, you had CJ Stroud throwing in the ball and all that. A little bit different situation, but yeah. I mean, I love Marvin Harrison today. I think he, Ibuka's looking very likely to be out. I don't think it's official yet, but yeah, we saw last week, even in that rain. I mean, Marvin Harrison had at least 3 or 4 drops, like bad drops.
Yeah, I mean, how many points did he leave out there? Because I know.
Well, he dropped it. He dropped a touchdown. Dropped probably 2 or 3 balls that would have been 15 to 20 yards. This was it was raining, but I think this is a game he's wanting to, really show out. And, Penn State's just not going to have an answer for him. I mean, I think the total in this one's even lower, 42 or something like that.
It's 45, yeah. So it's like
4 points. It's went up a little bit, but yeah, I like a lot of the Ohio State side. If Henderson played, I was thinking about even playing him and Marvin Harrison, even though it's definitely a GPP play, but like the guys on the Ohio State side, just because we're just not sure what this Penn State defense is like. So, but yeah, I think I would lean Marvin Harrison over Troy Franklin, which is going to kind of be both their stud receivers and priced, But yeah, like him a lot. I think at this point now, I'm just going to avoid the running back situation altogether, just because who knows. And Penn State side, I do like LR, but probably not the slate for this one. He's still priced up a little bit. We do know Ohio State's defense is above average. We know we've already seen it against some teams, so not going to worry there. I do think you can take a chance on that Keandre Lambert-Smith, 5,700 for his favorite target. And, and if it goes the way I'm thinking, and Ohio State scores some points, so they're going to have to be throwing the ball around. And he likes taking shots with him. So, all these plays here are definitely GPP plays because I do think the ownership's going to be pretty low on them just because the game and, what other games we have on the slate. But, I think he makes for an excellent tournament play. Could easily see him, catching a long one, maybe even two. Like he's going to come in. I mean, Lambert Smith will be probably 3%. So
Yeah, because I think Harrison's gonna come in somewhat low on too, which I think we could get a
mhm.
huge edge over the field if we just jam him in. I
Yeah,
think a lot of people are just gonna be afraid of the matchup, like you mentioned, because they are the number one defense on the slate. But you said it best too. If they played, I'll be
yeah,
have
and I
to see.
think Ohio State also, one of their top cornerbacks, is out this week as well. So
Okay. No, I like that. I'm definitely gonna mess around with some builds with Harrison. I was iffy on Harrison Jr. just because there's so many running backs you can spin up for. And there's some cheaper wide receivers that I feel like are in a great spot. Um, but no, I'm put a star by Harrison Jr.'s name. I'm going to force him in to at least one lineup, and then maybe even run it back with Lambert Smith because that Lambert Smith, I mean, I think your 3% might be a little high.
probably so. Yeah.
But no, I like that. Next game, we have Memphis versus UAB as a 60 and a half or 62 over under. This Memphis is 7-point favorites. So this game has one of the biggest totals, but actually the most important part here is it has a close spread, which is something we don't have in a lot of the other huge totals. I think there's a ton of great plays for Memphis. We were messaging back and forth about Zeno for UAB. I think he's actually a decent quarterback, but if he's, I'm not seeing anything. That's what's crazy about colleges. I'm not seeing anything about him being hurt. And then, you tell me he may not play. So I'm going to let you break down that situation. Let me know about Memphis. We have huge news with Watson. I don't know if you've got anything since we've been on about that, but I
Yeah.
think you have to play some guys in this game. Either way, whether you just stack them on Memphis' side, or if you want to do some run backs to UAB, I love this game. Start off with the Watson news.
Yeah. I just did a quick Twitter search, and it does look like he's warming up, looking like he should play. So I would lean him playing this game, which kind of, I think is a situation where you just avoid the running back situation with because we saw Watson. Apparently, I don't know if he actually got hurt in that game or if he was limited coming in, but I mean he came out and played maybe the first two drives and then just stood on the sideline with his helmet on the rest of the game. So um, especially at his price, I mean he's a stud and it's a great matchup. But you can't do it if you're making a couple. If you're making more than 10, you could try to throw him in there, but we should
I hope it's
get.
so well owned. I mean,
Yeah, I can't even say we'll for sure get confirmation because it's college football. But right now, I would lean him playing, which would make Sutton Smith. You still could possibly play him because he will get some run as well. But he was going to be looking like one of the top values on the slate if Watson missed. But if it's looking like Watson's in, and that kind of throws that out. But you could take a chance, and hope that Watson's still limited, that he's just kind of warming up just to warm up and see how it goes. But yeah, and then I think the Memphis side's pretty interesting. UAB's arguably the worst defense on the slate today. So you've got Hannigan at quarterback, 8 threes, not the cheapest, but he's had some big games and he's got some easy pairings. Rock Taylor's probably one of my favorite plays on the slate. Just a stud. Like I put in my article, I think just this eye test, he's one of the most impressive receivers I've seen this season. You get him at 5,800, so that's a good price for him. And this Blake MC has looked great the last 2 weeks.
he's always open. I watched
Yeah,
that game Friday night, and because we were on Taylor, you had me on him, and he was always open. I don't know. Every time he would, they would look his way. There was no one within like 10 yards of
yeah.
him.
So yeah, he's going to be one of your higher owned kind of value plays. So definitely don't mind going there. I did watch him a little bit earlier in the season, and he does at times struggle with some drops. So I could see a route where he does, not quite get there, but yeah, he's definitely 4,700 is a good price. I think I'd rather go up and pay for Rock Taylor, but either one's perfectly in play, and especially if you go Hennigan, you'd want to go at least one of them. So yeah, that's kind of on the Memphis side, and yeah, like I said, in the UAB side, it's just rumors at this point, and still, we're an hour and a half to kickoff, and Still nothing officially that that Zeno may be out. But yeah, if he's in, I prefer him to be in so we can kind of get some pieces to this UAB, not necessarily playing, but it just helps some other plays. The running back was coming in this week is probably one of my favorite plays. Memphis's rush defense is god awful, and dude just been an absolute stud the past few weeks. And yeah, they had Isaiah Jacobs earlier in the year, and he's been hurt, so that's kind of led to yeah, he's actually out for the season now. That's Josh Jacobs' little brother. But yeah, he's out for the season, so Brown's kind of took on a little bit more carries, and so yeah, if Zeno's in, it's an upgrade to both Brown and also this receiver Amir Thomas has been an absolute stud as well. Last 4 games has just played great. So yeah, those are definitely 2 of the top plays on the board today. Just a good game environment. Probably overall the best game environment on the slate, just because you get 2 teams that aren't overall very good, but both their defenses are below average. So and they both play at a good pace. So yeah, I hope Zeno's in just so we can kind of fully attack this game.
You making any rules where you're gonna have at least 2 guys from this game, or have you messed around with it? Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard for me to build and not either have Taylor or Blankency in my lineups for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then even especially on UAB, I mean, I feel like one of those 2, not a must, but definitely guys that I'm looking at to try to get in my lineups.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a full break. I literally wrote down every single receiver's name on here and looked through them, and just everyone priced around. I mean, Taylor, there's a couple guys around 5,800, I think, that you can pivot to, but especially when you get down in that 5K range, from what we've seen with Blankency, I think he's just a great play and probably one of the safest floors as far as the guys priced around that range. I'm just worried about this because if Zeno is out, are you still going to look to Brown and Thomas?
More so Brown. Because Brown gets involved. We just don't really know exactly how this, because Brown gets some dump offs. It could lead to less, it could lead to more. It's just, sometimes you get a little worried with a different quarterback because it just kind of changes the whole dynamic of the offense. If you can't throw the ball down the field, then that lets the defense kind of start stacking the box more, start focusing more on it. So yeah, it's I would just prefer Zeno to be in and just kind of run this game full and go from there.
Okay. Next game, we have a barn burner. We have Air Force versus Navy. We have a 33.5 point total. Air Force is 10-point favorites. Can I interest you in a $5,800 running back, Emmanuel Michel, who could very easily fall in the end zone 3 times, or are we not messing with it? Let me know about the chalk. He's probably the only play that I could find from this game. Anyone that's watched them before know they have 4 or 5 running backs. They switch in and out. But Mitchell, to me, seems like the safest, the guy they trust the most. I tried to find some stuff on him, couldn't find much. I found his highlight tape, which included him falling in the end zone from 2 yards out about 4 or 5 times. So what are we doing with Michelle here and anyone else in this game? I doubt we spend much time here.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of those games where you look up and, it's halftime in this one, and you've got the UAB Memphis game could be just starting the second quarter. It's going to go fast. There's going to be a lot of running. And I just think on a slate like this, I'm just going to fade it. If it beats me, it beats me. But it's just, I'm not going to deal with it. I did see in chat, they were talking about for Navy, this Braxton Woodson is going to get the start for Navy. If he was cheaper, I think I would have a little bit more interest, but 6,200 still not, it's still 1,000 more than what Wright is. And, we've seen what some of these, quarterbacks in this triple option can do. And apparently there's a little bit of hype around him. He's a bigger athletic dude, but
I'm going to have to look him up after the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth looking into a little bit, but, it's more so like if you're making multiple teams.
Yeah, I mean, if he was 5K, it'd be different also. Like you said, 6,200, there's some guys priced a little bit below him, and even up just a few hundred more that probably would prefer. But no, definitely something to look into. But so pretty much what you're saying is not even going to worry about Michelle. Sorry.
No.
Okay. You know me, I love pain. So I see a big old fullback I can roster if he might get 2 or 3 touchdowns. Next game we have Western Michigan versus Ohio. Ohio's 17.5 point favorites here, or 16.5 point favorites. The total's 52.5. Looks like Western Michigan's just absolutely terrible. We have a good cheap quarterback in Rourke who should. I mean, one thing we know for sure is Ohio's going to score points. That's kind of what I wrote by his name. Cheap, going to score points. We have receivers that we can pair him up with. This Wigs lose. I probably should try to say his name before the show. 6,400. I mean, I think he's going to come in criminally unowned just for the type of upside he might be able to have. Cross is the guy I think a lot of people are going to go to if they go this Rourke route. I mean, I know that's who I originally built my Rourke lineup with.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Ohio, the running backs in play here, and anyone from Western Michigan.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting game. I'm just not sure what DraftKings is doing here. Like, I was looking at just the overall slate for college football today, and like, there's some good games that they could have put in this early slate that they chose this over. Like, even the Air Force Navy, it's like, you've got South Carolina and Missouri that could have been on this slate. Like, that's I don't know. I don't understand why they decided to use these games and not some of these other matchups we actually have, but. I don't know. That's just, I guess, DraftKings doing what they want. But even like the Minnesota Iowa game being on the slate, like I don't know. But anyway, we get some MAC action on Saturday, and I always try to be careful with MAC games because you just never know what may happen. With my history of it, I've usually been on the wrong side of a lot of things. Like sometimes we get guys that just don't even play. We get guys that aren't even on the depth chart. Just go out there and score 3 touchdowns. So I'm going to be careful with this game. I do think that, I think Roark is going to be probably your chalk cheap play this week, and rightfully so. I mean, Western Michigan's not good, especially defensively. He's a guy that's been around for a while, so like we kind of know what we're getting. So at 5,700, he makes for a really good play. I think I think Mike Wright makes a good pivot off of him. But like we were talking earlier, I think you can make a pretty good team going Mike Wright and Roark and just punting the quarterback position and then trying to get some studs in there because there is some good running backs on the slate that you kind of want to pay up for. So, yeah, like that. And like you mentioned, Wagowski and Cross are both good plays for to pair up with him. And even these running backs, I mean, this Bangura guy, I mean, he's been around. I feel like this is about his 3rd year that he's been relevant in fantasy, and he's had some big games. So at 7,100, he's not going to get much ownership, especially looking at what kind of he's done this year. But interesting GPP play, and even the Allison, they've both kind of been a 2-headed attack the past couple of years, and it's more of a multiple team type entry, but both of them are definitely still in play. And on the Western Michigan side, not a whole lot to really like. I think you just kind of want to look at the Ohio side. I do remember we had I can't remember what slate it was, but we played this Keyshawn King, and I think he came out and scored a touchdown, and then just got absolutely. I guess it was this. Might have been the Syracuse game the last time he played, and scored a touchdown, and then just got, rocked. And I don't think he's been back since. So don't think I'm going to touch anything on the Western Michigan side. Just more so the Ohio quarterback and one of his receivers.
Yeah, I'm making 3 teams today, so I'm for sure gonna have work on one, and then the other question is the other 2. Do I want to go Allison or Bangura just to kind of cover my ass because we know Ohio's gonna score. I had some. This is when I realized I had to go to bed last night. I was up making. I was thinking about making every single team with Rourke and Wright. Just making 3 teams with going super cheap and just getting in all the studs. But I had to go to bed. I'm feeling better now. I'm not gonna do it in all three, but I'm definitely leaning towards one build, just spinning down in both quarterback positions, just because I just keep wanting to go back to Wright. I mean, his rushing upside at that price, he breaks a long one, throws one. I mean, he's gonna be the play of the slate. I feel like. Um, I like Rourke. It's just one of those things where I just don't see how they're not going to score. Um, I mean, I think I seen something where Western Michigan, where they gave up 40 to Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So I
saying
mean,
something if you do that.
yeah, that's all I need to hear to at least know that. I mean, they're going to put up 30 something points. I feel like here. So I love Rourke. Like you said, he's probably going to be the chalkiest option. I am leaning pairing him up with this Wigsloo. I'm just going to keep embarrassing myself.
Keep
Wigsloo,
trying.
and just because I think a lot of people are going to go the cross. So, and I don't even mind double stacking them. Honestly, I don't think you need it, but like I said, I think Ohio's going to score. We'll move
Yeah.
on to the next game. We have looks like Oklahoma State versus West Virginia. It's a 48.5 over under. West Virginia is 3-point favorites, and I do have a guy that we haven't got to talk about much this year that I'm interested in, and his it's going to be Garrett Green. I love his rushing upside today. I wish he was a little cheaper, but I think that's going to keep him all the ownership off of him. And man,
Yeah.
I just he could really maybe even break the slate here. Uh, and there's a lot of see this is why I don't need to stay up on. I did a deep dive on all the West Virginia receivers, so I got all this knowledge on these guys, and I'm just sitting here like, why should I even try to play them on this slate? But I can touch on that after I let you break this down. Anything from Oklahoma State here to talk to me about Green? He's going to be low owned, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, his price is going to keep the ownership down, and I do think there's a little bit of a weather concern here. I think this is going to maybe be a wet game, which maybe downgrade a little bit overall to this game. But yeah, I do think Green makes a very interesting GPP play. I doubt I get there with just not. I'm not making a whole lot of teams today, so doubt I get there. But yeah, I could definitely see it. He's a guy I do like going in fantasy just because he does. He's yet to I think really have his ceiling game rushing. So we saw what Bean did last week against Oklahoma State, and Green's fairly similar to style of play that Bean is. So could definitely see him having a good game. And even I think the Donaldson, the running back's kind of a sneaky play. I think he's not going to get looked at all, but I mean, he's definitely their guy. And if it's a kind of a wetter game, then he could get some more carries. And we've already seen he had 22 one game. I mean, the carries are very very consistent. So definitely don't mind that as kind of a contrarian play. And the Oklahoma State side, I think Gordon's got to be considered. His prices went up, but man, I mean, they're using him in every way to get him the ball. I mean, throwing the ball to him, obviously getting plenty of rushes. Not sure. I don't know how sustainable, 29 rushing attempts is. We've actually seen this before with Oklahoma State. Chuba Hubbard was there a few years ago, and I mean, absolutely just drove him into the ground to the point where it took him a year and a half to recover from all the carries they gave him. So I don't know if they continue it. I won't be playing Gordon this week. I didn't play him last week, so I'm sure as hell not going to play him this week. So, but yeah, he's in a good spot. West Virginia is a better rush defense than what they saw last week. But yeah, that side, and then the receivers, they're priced up a little bit more than what they were last week. We're not getting the discount like on Owens, but they played pretty much the whole game. So Presley, Bray, and Owens, are all decent plays. I wouldn't make them a priority, but if you want to stack up this game a little bit, any of them are in play.
No, I agree. I'm going to touch on a couple of the West Virginia receivers. With you saying that it's supposed to be wet, makes me like him less. I wasn't crazy about him. I mean, this Carter, number 5, I was watching some film last night, honestly, and he's just a huge body receiver. The problem is I'm not sure how sustainable his game last week is. I mean, 5 catches, 116 yards. He seemed to kind of be like the guy that Green looked to. So I don't mind him, but at 5K, there's just other guys like Blaine and C. I'd much rather go him for a couple hundred cheaper. So I think that really leaves me with this Traylon Ray. He had a touchdown last week. He's 3,500. He's going to be someone I keep in my player pool if I land on him and need a value guy at 3,500. I'd probably go to him only if I had Green in my lineup. If I didn't have Green, there's probably some other cheaper guys I'd like, but he is someone you could pair him to. Clement at 5,700. I mean, he had a monster game, I think, at the beginning of the season, but he doesn't really impress me. He's a big old white guy. Doesn't look super fast, but looks more like a tight end out there. He might be a tight end for all I know, but I'll probably stay away here outside of maybe going Ray 3,500 if I need to. But I do like Green. I'm with you on Ollie. That's the pivot we made last week. That was about a $700 mistake. I never would have projected him to go off for 52. I'm still deciding I want to play him. Man, there's just those other running backs that are all 7K that I like over him. So that's still undecided. I'm with you. So did you touch on Owens? I know that he was super chalky last week, 4,800 this week. Are you still have any interest? I might have missed it.
Yeah, I was just saying. I mean, they played the whole game. Priced up a little bit more, but definitely still playable this week.
Okay.
And I did just check the weather again, and it doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. So I wouldn't let the weather affect your decision on playing anything. It looks like a little bit of wind. The wind's more of a concern than any rain, but which for Green that shouldn't matter too much.
Okay. We'll move on to the next game. It's Washington State versus Oregon. Another huge total, 60.5. Oregon's minus 20-point favorites. I'm honest, I don't love this game as much as I originally thought I would, just because Washington State has not really shown much over the last few weeks. I know you've been on Ward. He's absolutely shit the bed and looked awful.
Yeah, fuck Ward.
I was on Bo big time last week. I mean, he didn't. I mean, honestly, for that price, he did disappoint at 27 or 28 rather. But he's just not running it like we seen him last year. He doesn't really throw the ball deep. I'm kind of off of him at 9,800. I think I'd prefer someone like Gabriel, but you definitely have to still consider Franklin and Irving. I feel like the Washington State receivers looks like they're all healthy. That just makes for a shit show, in my opinion. Whenever you have other guys and just for sure roles, I think he might could throw a stab at Victor. But what are we doing here with Oregon? Do you think Washington can keep this close? Do you think Oregon just blows them out? And Irving's really the question I have because there's just so many good running back plays, and I know a lot of people think Irvin's maybe one of the best running backs in the country. They just they're weird with him.
Yeah, but I mean, we saw last week. I mean, he was the guy. I don't know if it was just a situation where it was just a big game, so they trusted him more. And then we saw Jordan James take a big shot early in the game, and I wasn't even sure if he was going to come back, and he ended up playing some towards the end. That might have led to Bucky getting a few more carries than normal, but yeah, when I did my initial, kind of dive into the slate, Oregon running back room was definitely the one you kind of want to attack because Washington State got absolutely gashed last week against Arizona, and Oregon got better running backs, got better run blocking. They love to run the ball, so Bucky definitely grades out as. There's Brooks. We're going to talk about here in a little bit, but besides him, I mean, I think he grades out as probably the best running back play on the slate. And even Jordan James is in play as well because, like I said last week, I mean, he's kind of your touchdown guy. And 5,400. Maybe wish he's a tad bit cheaper, but both of the plays, both of them are firmly in play. And then Franklin is almost Bo Nix just loves looking for him. 8,200 is kind of expensive, but he's a pretty safe play. I don't know if he can get enough in this game if it doesn't stay competitive to get to pay off that tag. But the running backs and Franklin are kind of the only way I'm looking at in this game. I'm done with Washington State, writing them off. There's something's going on there. Like he looked so good in the last 2 weeks. The offense has just been. I mean, it's like they never played football before. So. Until they figure something out, I'm not even considering anything on Washington State.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Washington State side. So it does look like Franklin's got 30 plus his last 3 games. Last week was close. The 2 games before that were blowouts, and he still got there. So it just shows you that that's who they want to try to get the ball to, especially Bo.
And we've yet to see, but we've yet to see Bo have that big game. I think he makes for he's a interesting play because I think he's safe. I mean, I think he's going to get you 20, but I do think there's upside. If he finally does take, I mean, he's just not running the ball at all like we thought he would. So, this could be the week he finally breaks out, but I don't know.
I mean, he'll be low owned after last. I mean, here's the thing: is like, how bad of a game did he really have last week? He still had almost 30. It's just
well, if you watch the game, I mean, he looked good. I mean, they were. I mean, they got stopped. What was it? Twice down on the goal line.
Yeah,
And
it's just at that price tag, I just think you want 40.
Yeah, and he's not shown it yet. I mean, we know what he can do last year, but he's not shown that he can get to that 40 mark yet. So
the other question I have: if this game gets out of hand, will they run James some, or is he, as soon as it gets out of hand, is he going to be done too, along with the?
Yeah, I mean, he'll get a little bit of run, but he's not going to be like your, mop up time running back. Like they'll go to another guy because James is still like he's a part of this offense. Like he's
okay.
Because they don't want to just run Bucky into the ground, so that he's going to be getting carries regardless. So yeah.
I'm gonna move on to the next game. I think it's gonna be a fun one. Tennessee versus Alabama. 47.5 over under. Alabama's 9-point favorites. You got me with the Milroy experience last week, and he started off. I think he had 20 at halftime, and he finished with the big 21. So I'm honestly excited to see what you have to say about him. I know Tennessee's not that great because I like him. I see the upside. He's yet to break a big long run for a touchdown this year. I feel like maybe he did against Mississippi State. I'm seeing, but he throws a good deep ball. I could be talked into going back to Milrow here if you think you can get it. 8,400 is just expensive. I don't want 20. I want 30.
Yeah. Well, the thing you're getting with Milrow is, he throws a deep ball excellent. Like he can do that. He's terrible. His pocket presence is terrible. He's short to intermediate passing is terrible. So, and even, I keep saying he's a running quarterback. And I don't even know if he's a running quarterback anymore at this point. The dude might be at any time he's on the field, he's one of the fastest guys on the field. But that doesn't make you a good runner. He just looks, I don't know, he just don't have that instinct of when to take off and
every time he doesn't feel it.
Yeah, and even looking back, like I started looking into him a little bit even more. I mean, obviously I knew about him, but even in high school, like he'd have some running, but he's not just like a true dual threat. So I think I've kind of tempered my expectations there on him and just take him for who he is. And I just at 8,400, I just don't think I'm going to do it again. I do think there's some, I think Alabama wins this game. I think Tennessee's offense is there's just something, Milton, I've harped on it before, but I think, he's just not the guy. He's not the type guy that's going to be able to beat Alabama. Because he's kind of him and Milrow. You've got me saying Milrow, and pissing me off. But yeah, they're kind of similar in the ways they're built. I mean, like if you created a quarterback, like they look, it's like a created player, but they just lack the touch. If Milton comes out and has a game, I mean, they definitely. I mean, if he's hitting those deep balls, it makes her a little bit of interesting GPP plays on the side, but. Any of the running backs in this game, Alabama's rush defense is, borderline elite. So don't want to do that. If you did do anything on Tennessee side, I would take a chance on one receiver. And, Squirrel White is kind of the guy, that Nimrod guy. I think he got some run last week. So if you wanted to take a stab, 3,400 is not the worst GPP play. And, on the Bama side, Burton is he loves these big games like this. If you want to take a stab at him, Bond, and Black are kind of the guys I'm looking at there. And but yeah, other than that,
which one is his roommate? Did he say Burton or Bond was Milrose?
I'm honestly not 100% on that. I don't know if I would think it'd be Burton because him and Burton are like this whole quarterback situation. Burton's always been the guy they kind of been hyping up Milrow and everything. So, but yeah. And then the running back, I think each week Alabama's going to start getting more running backs involved. They have been running the ball better though. They've started to figure something out on the run game, so I do think it's coming for the running backs, but still just not sure which one.
One thing about Niblack is every time we've been on him, he scored a touchdown.
He
So
can
I
score
like,
touchdowns. Yeah,
yeah, I like him at 3,500. Honestly, I think he's probably my favorite guy at that price. If I just had to pick one, because I think he's a stud. You're huge on him. He's yet to. I mean, he scored what 3 or 4 touchdowns so far this year, and he's not really what eclipsed 20 DK points. I think he has 20K or 20 DK point upside. So I love him at
yeah,
3,500.
and he's cheap. Like he's yet to go over the 3K mark. So
Yeah. You kinda got me off Milrow, which is good because I didn't wanna have to mess with it anyways.
I will
Um,
say, I think this happened last year, and it's you obviously can't um, judge it too much because it's everything's last year, different teams and stuff. But I um, I won a decent amount of money last year off the Florida Tennessee game, and I'm not saying Mil Milrow is the same type as Anthony Richardson, but that game ended up shooting out and it was under owned, and he had a big game like that. So I can see, if I was making 10 teams, I would definitely have Milrow in a team and hope he, balls out. But if you're making a couple, I wouldn't do it.
yeah. No, I agree. The more I look at it, there's just some guys in some super safe spots, especially some lower price tags. And it's just his price. You can spin up just a little bit more and get someone else. But
Yeah.
the
Or
next
go
game,
down in 3K and get Mike Wright.
yeah, that's the problem I kept doing last night and this morning is you go down there and throwing Mike Wright. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Wright had more than Milroad, to be
He
honest.
could.
Uh, but next game, Wisconsin versus Illinois. It is a 40.5 over under. Wisconsin's 3-point favorites. We've talked about a ton of good running backs. We're going to talk about another one here with Braylon Allen, 7,700. To me, he's one of the safest running backs on the slate. We haven't even got to talk about Brooks yet, who I know is your favorite play, I think, of the whole day. So what are we doing with Allen? Are we going down the Altmaier train? I hope not. He's just not good. They keep pricing down this Williams 5,800. I know we like him some, but what are we doing with this game? Anything here? What about Allen? What do you rank him out of the running backs today?
Probably third behind Brooks and Bucky.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's really the only thing I'm looking at in this game. I don't think there's a reason to spend a whole lot of time here. I think we just don't know what this quarterback. Apparently, he's not too good. So I don't know how this offense is going to look. But yeah, Braylon Allen, Acker is, you could take a chance with him at 3,800, especially if Wisconsin rolls a little bit. He gets some more run, but don't feel too great about that. And Will Pauling. He's had 8 catches the last 2 weeks, 4,400. Like I said, don't know how this quarterback's going to be. Don't know what he's going to look like. So, but yeah, you could take a chance on that. 4,400 won't kill you. But,
Uh, what about Love? Any news on him? And if he's out, Fegan, is he anyone that's on your radar if Love is out?
yeah, I think you definitely would lean Fegan a little bit, but I don't know. This Illinois offense is. But I mean, you got to think we did see, was it Georgia Southern throw for like 1 billion yards against Wisconsin earlier this year,
Hmm.
and they still got beat because I think they got through like 5 interceptions. So I feel like Altmaier's on this slate every week.
Oh, I know.
And
Every time I see his name, it just
so I
I
mean,
didn't. Yeah.
I think Isaiah Williams. I said Allen might be the only thing I'm liking this game, but I think Isaiah Williams is in play. Um, he's been good this season. I mean, I know he's had a game under. Yeah, he's not had a game under 10 fantasy points this year, and we've seen Wisconsin get beat through the air. So I think he makes for a good little GPP play. But so Allen and Isaiah Williams is the only thing I like in this one.
So, how much better do you like Rock Taylor over Williams? Is it even a question? Just
Hmm.
with them being the same price, because that was my problem. Is there's all these guys that I like, but then I go to Taylor. I go to Blankency.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
I don't mind a pivot because they're going to be owned. These Memphis
yeah,
guys.
like I mean, it would probably be if I'm making 3 teams, you know, I might throw them in one and rock in the other 2 or something like that, but
Okay.
yeah.
Next game, probably the worst. Well, I don't know. You can't get much worse than Air Force Navy. But we have Minnesota versus Iowa. It's what 30? I don't even have it wrote down. I got to look it up. Let's see. I think it's a 30 over
Uh,
under. Um, yep, 30 over under. Iowa's 3.5 point favorites. The only plays I have it all wrote down here is going to be the running backs for Iowa. Then maybe you can tell me if I should just cross those names out, if they're worth keeping in the player pool between Williams and Johnson.
yeah, I like Caleb Johnson, but probably not going to get there. And you know, if we knew that Darius Taylor, um, I think he makes for an interesting play if he suits up. I mean, you saw what he had what in the 3 weeks before he got hurt, 33 carries, 22 carries, and 31 carries. So I mean, he's 6,000, but you know that type of volume. I mean, that's tough to get. Like you don't see that very often anymore. So you know, I think he's kind of the only interest I really have in this game. And I mean, we're not even sure if he's going to play or not. So
Okay.
yeah, let's just move
Uh,
on. We're already over the hour mark.
oh yeah, yeah. Last game we have Texas versus Houston. It's another 60 over under. Texas is 23.5 point favorites. I feel like you got to have some pieces of the offense. I mean, I could name 5 or 6 guys. I feel like from the Tennessee side that I would feel fine on my lineups today. So
Tennessee
go ahead.
side.
Or sorry, the Texas side. So give me the rundown on Brooks. You know I'm a big Worthy fanboy. Think he gets in the box today. But man, they just got a ton of good receivers now. So the only guy I think I'm out on as far as Texas, and maybe you can change my mind, is Ewers just because his price, and I like some cheaper guys, or I'd rather just go up to Gabriel. But
Yeah,
we lock
I
we
think
lock him.
it. I think so. I think if you're making 5 teams, um, Brooks would be on at least 3, possibly 4. You know, I'm never going to lock a guy completely in college football just because there's just too much unknown. Um, yeah, Brooks is just they're giving him plenty of carries. Houston's run defense is terrible. Just everything adds up to him being a good play. I do think you can take a chance on Baxter as well. I do think he's going to eat in a little bit, but you know Brooks is as long as the game stays somewhat competitive, you're looking at 15 to 20 carries, which is going to be all he needs to have a good game here. If the game gets out of hand a little bit earlier, you know Baxter may get up over that 10 carry mark, which if he does that, then you know at 4,500 he definitely could pay off. So definitely like the running back side on this here for Texas, and you know I think the receivers are kind of contrarian. I don't know if you really have to go yours because, like you said, the price. But we've seen it before with Texas, like games that you think that, like the team I wouldn't go Brooks on, I would heavily consider going the passing attack for Texas because they're going to score points on Houston, just no matter how they come. So, you know, I think Euros with Worthy, you know, AD Mitchell. We saw Whittington kind of have a big game against Oklahoma, but I think that's kind of more so just a scheme of that game. Yeah, he had 26. I didn't realize he had that good of a game, but yeah, and then Jatavion Sanders looks like he's healthy. They had a week off, and yeah, so he 4,900 is getting a little bit up there, but you know he's the good one for Bowers. I mean, he's the best tight end in the country. So yeah, so like that, and for the Houston side, not a whole lot to like there. You know, Donovan Smith's priced up way too much, and he's looked bad this year. I think he's had maybe one. I guess he's had 2 good games this year, and so yeah, not going there. And I think at receiver, the only one I'm kind of looking at is that Manjack. He plays more of the slot role. So I think he could still get there. So if you are going some Texas pieces, I'd run it back with Manjack or something, and hope he just gets plenty of targets and racks up some PPR.
Yeah, no, I like that. Well, yeah, like you said, we're already over time. So instead of making a team, just give me your play of the day. I'll give mine, and we'll get out of here because I know we both have some teams to build.
Yeah. So you starting? You want to go with yours?
Yeah. Mine, if you listen to the show, it's it's gonna come to no surprise. It's gonna be Mike Wright. I think he comes in low owned compared to the chalky work. 5,200 just helps you fit anything you want in your lineup. I'll go ahead and give two. Actually, I think I'm just going to start my a couple of builds with Rourke and Wright, and just get all the studs and hope they get me 20 to 25, and just set everything up to be for a good day.
Yeah, yeah, and mine are going to be a little bit more chalky, but Jonathan Brooks, I think, is about a lock button, and I love me some Rock Taylor today as well. So, and actually, I'll take that back. I'll have them in my definitely be playing them, but I think my play of the day is going to be Marvin Harrison. Don't
Let's
think he
go.
don't think he comes in very owned.
I was hoping that that's what you were going to say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with his name and everything, he's not just going to be coming at like 1 or 2%, but just a stud. And I think the numbers are a little skewed because of who Penn State's played. So, like me some Marvin Harrison Jr. today.
Let's go. Before we hop off here, if anybody wants to go check out Dmar's article, it's on the 4D website. You can sign up, use code DMAR20, save 20% on any membership you want.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's a good show. Everyone hop in. If you are a member, we'll be in Discord up until lock all through the day, really, asking any questions and stuff. So come join in on the fun. It's always fun to just talk football with everyone, and got a good team for tomorrow, betting, and a lot of good stuff happening over here. So come join in on the fun.
And your parlays have been just freaking smashing. I think we were 3 for 3.
I'll actually, if anyone's still on the show, I'll give you one real quick.
I'm writing this down.
I think So I've got let's see, Bucky Irving, Braylon Allen, Mike Wright, and Marvin Harrison Jr. Little 4 anytime touchdown parlay.
What's that come out to? Do you know?
Yeah, I think I boosted it, and I actually boosted it to plus 1277. So, which I think if you boost it, you can only put so much on it. But yeah, I like that, especially the Mike Wright anytime. I think is a very good value. It's plus, I don't know what it's at now, but it was earlier like plus 335 or something like that. So like that a lot. So good luck today, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Peace, everybody.
Peace.